Something very serious has just happened, and if you or someone in your family depends on a SASSA grant, you need to hear this. A new law has officially been passed, and it's not just a proposal or a rumor anymore. This change is real, it's immediate, and it has the power to directly affect your grant as early as tomorrow. Yes, you heard that right. If you're receiving an older person's grant, disability grant, child support grant, or even the A370 SRD, your eligibility, your payment date, or even your banking verification could be impacted. And the worst part, many people across South Africa haven't been informed yet. Now let's be clear, this isn't about fearmongering. It's about truth. Quietly, over the past few days, the Department of Social Development has moved forward with legislative changes that directly affect how grants are processed, monitored, and reviewed. These changes are already signed off and are part of a new legal framework SASSA must follow. One of the most significant shifts includes stricter conditions for ongoing eligibility, meaning you could still qualify today, but find yourself disqualified next month without warning. That's how fast and quietly these policies are moving. For millions of grant recipients, especially pensioners who have depended on SASSA for over a decade, this has created a cloud of confusion, worry, and frustration. People are asking, what's changing? Is it true my banking details must match my ID exactly or I'll be cut off? Are reapplications now mandatory every few months? Will the grant amounts change again this year? These are real questions with life-altering consequences, and yet most of the public still doesn't know where to turn for real answers. In this video, we are breaking it all down. No fluff, no guesswork, just real, clear facts about this new SASSA law and what you need to do right now to protect your grant. Now, before we dive into the specific sections of the new law, I want to pause and talk about something that's often overlooked, the anxiety and uncertainty that comes with sudden changes like these. If you're like most people relying on a SASSA grant, especially if you're a pensioner, this money is not just some monthly top-up. It's your lifeline. It's what keeps food on the table, the electricity on, your medicine stocked, and the basics of life running. So when a law suddenly appears, passed almost in silence, affecting how and even if you receive your money, that's not just policy. That's personal. That's stressful. And you deserve clear answers. So let's start unpacking it. This new legislation, passed under the broader Social Assistance Amendment framework, quietly changed a few crucial systems behind the scenes, but don't let that fool you. One of the core changes revolves around data integration, where SASSA will now be required by law to cross-check your details far more frequently than before. This means your banking information, ID, address, and income sources will be pulled into automated reviews every few weeks. Not every few months. Not annually. Every few weeks. That's why some people have already started seeing sudden payment delays or notices to re-verify their bank accounts, even though nothing about their situation changed. It's the new law in action, and it's only just begun. Now, here's the part that's catching many people off guard. The government didn't do much to explain this upfront. There weren't big TV campaigns. There were no letters delivered to homes. Many people only heard about the changes when something in their SASSA status suddenly went wrong, like when payments didn't land, or applications were marked incomplete for no reason. The truth is, most of these new legal changes have already been baked into the system, and they are now quietly affecting people without them even realizing it's because of a law passed just days ago. For example, the part about matching bank account names to ID numbers, that's not a recommendation anymore. It's a legal requirement. If your grant is paid into an account that does not reflect your full legal name exactly as shown on your ID, the system will flag your payment. In some cases, it will hold it. In others, it may suspend your grant until you submit a new banking form. This applies not only to older persons' grants, but to every category, including child support and disability grants. And yes, it also applies to the SRD grant, which now sits at A370 but is expected to come under stricter scrutiny in the coming quarter. But the concern doesn't stop with bank accounts. The law also outlines eligibility reassessment intervals. In plain terms, this means SASSA is now legally obliged to reassess many grant recipients more often. Some people might be asked to confirm their circumstances or income more than once a year. In some situations, particularly for the SRD or temporary disability grants, this could mean quarterly reassessments. If you don't respond within a certain time, which could be as short as 14 days, you might find your grant suspended or marked as inactive. What's worse is that the notifications are mostly digital now. If you're not checking your status on the website or app, you might miss it entirely. For many older South Africans who don't have smartphones, who live in rural areas, or who are simply not comfortable with apps and websites, this becomes a silent trap. How can you respond in time if you never even knew you were supposed to? That's why these legal updates have created such a stir among advocacy groups and legal watchdogs, because while the law aims to improve fraud prevention, it's also sweeping up innocent people who are simply less tech-savvy or don't have easy access to information. Another worrying detail in this new framework is that SASSA now has broader powers to suspend or cancel grants without a formal investigation if automated data shows what they call a red flag. That could be anything from receiving money from a family member to an incorrect banking flag or even a technical error in the system that assumes you're employed. Some pensioners have already faced these issues, suddenly being marked as employed because they were helping their son with a family tuck shop or had a once-off deposit into their account. Under the new law, SASSA doesn't need to interview you or verify with the caseworker first. The system flags it, and the process begins. Now this doesn't mean there's no way to fix these issues, but it does mean you have to be far more proactive than before. You'll need to check your status online, verify your details more often, and keep documents like your ID, proof of address, and bank confirmation letters up to date at all times. That's the only way to avoid being caught off guard by these new legal changes. And let's be honest, not everyone has the time, energy, or technical know-how to do that, especially if you're already dealing with health problems, mobility issues, or if you live alone. Some community groups have started hosting small workshops to help elders navigate these changes, which is a blessing, but it's not widespread enough. Many people are still relying on neighbors, grandchildren, or local counselors to help them print documents, check their statuses, or even just understand what SASSA is asking of them. And when something goes wrong, the call center is often flooded. Appointments at SASSA branches are hard to get. Long queues, slow service, and confusing paperwork make it all the more overwhelming. And that brings us to a deeper problem: communication breakdown. If there's one thing this law highlights, it's how far we still need to go when it comes to transparent communication between government and citizens. These are major policy shifts that affect millions of people's income, and yet the average grant recipient only finds out when their money stops or when someone forwards a WhatsApp message with no clear source. That's not how a caring system should work. People should be notified clearly, in their language, with real timelines and support channels to help them adjust to new requirements. Some critics have said that the law was rushed through Parliament with little community consultation. Others argue that it's part of a broader move to digitize and automate all grant systems, potentially at the cost of vulnerable people who don't fit into the tech model. Whatever the case, the effect is real. Everyday South Africans, the elderly, the disabled, single mothers, are left scrambling to protect their only source of income, and many don't even know why things are changing in the first place. And while government officials have stated that the purpose of the law is to streamline efficiency and reduce fraud, the question on everyone's lips is, at what cost? Yes, fraud must be tackled. Yes, the system must be accountable. But how many honest people will be cut off, even temporarily, in the process? For someone surviving on an old age grant, even a 1-month delay can mean skipping meals or missing critical medication. It's not just an inconvenience, it's dangerous. There's also been some confusion around whether this law is connected to budget cuts or changes in the national grant rollout. While the official line is that this legislation is not about reducing access but improving verification, it does come at a time when Treasury is under enormous pressure to reduce expenditure. So it's fair for the public to ask whether these changes are really about accountability, or about quietly reducing the number of recipients without publicly announcing cuts. That question still hasn't been answered in full. What we do know is that starting from this month, grant payments may become more staggered. If your information is under review, or if the system is still verifying your account under the new law, your payment might not land on the usual date. And again, you may not be notified unless you're checking online regularly. This is especially troubling for older recipients who have been used to the same system for years and now find themselves unsure whether they've done something wrong or if the system is just changing behind the scenes. But here's the good news: you're not powerless. Even with all these changes, there are still steps you can take to protect your grant and avoid surprises. The key is awareness. You need to be one step ahead. Check your SASSA status at least once a week. Make sure your banking details are still up to date, and if possible, switch to an account in your own name if someone else was helping you before. Keep a folder at home with printed copies of your ID, proof of address, and banking confirmation. It'll save time when you need to submit forms. And don't be afraid to ask for help, whether it's from a neighbor, your church group, or a community WhatsApp group. Also, start spreading the word. The more people who know about these changes, the better. If your sister, neighbor, or church friend is also on a grant, let them know what's happening. Share the video, send them the website link, and make sure they're not caught off guard. We can't rely on the system alone, we have to rely on each other. In the coming weeks, we'll be keeping a close eye on how this law continues to unfold. We'll report on who's being affected, what new announcements come from SASSA, and whether any parts of this legislation get paused or revised. So if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time to do it, because staying informed is the only way to stay protected. And finally, let me say this: if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not alone. These changes are complicated, confusing, and often unfairly implemented. But together, we'll navigate this. We'll fight for clarity, for fairness, and for the respect every grant recipient deserves. Because this isn't just about money, it's about dignity, and no law should ever take that away from you.